Good evening, everyone, and happy Tuesday. I'm excited to bring you another episode tonight of the Dog Tag Diva podcast. I've got my beautiful, wonderful co-host with me tonight, Lauren, and I've got Rachel Farmer with us this evening as well. And we are closing out May, which is it was Mental Health Awareness Month. And what better night to have on Rachel? And we're going to be talking about yoga and health and wellness and how to take care of ourselves. Welcome to the show, Rachel.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor to be here, getting to share a little bit about my story and just answer some questions, hopefully share some light.
Absolutely. And that you're friends with Lauren. So tell everybody about how you guys know each other and how you got dragged into this.
She got dragged in. No, she willingly came because she loves me.
Yes, I did. I was so grateful to meet Lauren. I think it's been a year, like a little bit over
a year and a half, because April, oh my God, 2 years.
Has it already been 2?
Wow, time flies. And I'm old as shit now, but time flies.
I know. I met you when you just had 1 kid and now you got 2. So time is moving.
How about them apples?
Yeah, so Lauren and I connected through Arbonne, which is a health and wellness company that we both work with. And we met at a leadership retreat and we just connected, clicked, and really the rest has been history.
Yeah, I mean, truly. And now you're in Florida. Both of you bitches are in Florida. And I'm stuck up north for now. So yeah, no, Rachel is a total, I will say this, like to preface, but like total inspiration. So when I met her, I was like, who is this woman that went by herself to Bali? Like I was not me, the one that like volunteered for deployment. That intimidates the crap out of me. I'm like, she went, like, we had battle buddies, Kristen.
Yes, we did.
Like even though I deployed not knowing anybody, right? Like I met them as I went. Except for Beck, that was for you, right? Like this girl just like took flight and rolled out with not a damn thing but a bag, and I was like, that I said, that is terrifying. Like I was like, God bless. Like it was so moving and inspirational, and to hear her calling. Awesome. I'm so excited to rehear everything and her new vision now, and because she's branching out. So I'm super excited to have her here.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about yourself, Rachel, and your background and how you got involved in all the things.
Yes. So I am currently living in Florida, but I'm actually originally from Maryland, but I've been in Florida for a while. So I went to University of Miami and then I went to Nova Southeastern, where I actually studied to become a physician assistant. So I have a medical background, but around, I want to say it's actually been 2 years since I have not practiced. I got really burnt out working in medicine. It just wasn't giving me the lifestyle that was sustainable for me. I loved my patients. I loved the actual role and responsibility of what I did as a dermatology PA, but it was just taking more than it was giving to me. And I knew that something had to change. I already had this love for health and wellness through Arbonne, which is, again, the company that connected Lauren and I. So I knew that I had this passion with wanting to help people. I knew I loved health and wellness. And I knew personally myself, I loved yoga, especially being up in Maryland. I was working as a PA up there. It was so cold. I was so stressed, and hot yoga was my go-to. So wow. I found myself just going to hot yoga all the time. And then when it was time for me to leave my job and I didn't know what I wanted to do next, I had this bucket list on my phone. And one of the things was to do a yoga retreat in Bali. I then pivoted and I figured, why go do a retreat when I could do a training and actually get a skill and get to learn a little bit more. So last February, I went to Bali to study yoga, and I didn't go really with the hopes of even becoming a teacher. I just knew that yoga helped me. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I loved yoga and was just hoping that the pieces would fall into place, and they pretty much have. So I've been teaching for about a year now. So I have my own business, Rachel Farmer Wellness. I do everything yoga, basically everything besides work at a studio. So I do a lot of markets, corporate events, bachelorettes, birthday parties, privates, all the different things. And I am now getting more into health coaching. I completed the health coaching program through Institute of Integrative Nutrition, IIN, and I'm going through my board certification now. So it's been really fulfilling to kind of branch out away from that medical side and get to help people a little bit more holistically.
Yeah, and Lauren and I have talked about this on the show in the past too, about just the state of healthcare is just, it's not good. And there are so many of us who are feeling stressed, burnt out, overwhelmed, overstimulated. So, we,
underappreciated, underpaid, understaffed.
All the things. Yeah, it's so real. And, one of the things that I really struggled with was I saw a new patient every 15 minutes. I couldn't do a whole lot in 15 minutes. I could do the skin check, I could provide the education I could, but I really feel like we need to have longer, more thorough conversations with people, because you don't go to the doctors to get healthy. You get healthy outside of the doctor's office, the way that you move, you eat. By the time you're in the doctor's office, something's gone too wrong. So I really love helping people prevent, getting there.
Yeah. And it's really just kind of a telling statement to where we kind of are as a society, right? Like, we've got a whole TV show dedicated to people who just kind of overeat, and they're just morbidly obese, and they're, kind of living off the system. And from a psychological standpoint, a lot of them are, feeding their feelings because they've been sexually abused or something. And a lot of them are uneducated. And like you said, like, by the time they get to that point, like, it's too late. We need to be doing the preventative stuff. And it just feels like a factor anymore. We're just not doing what, like, and my big gripe as a nurse right now is I feel like I'm in front of the computer so much. I'm not with my patients, and I'm just feeling so far removed.
I feel like we're taskers.
Right. Like, I'm doing a task, and I'm not doing the things that I want to do to actually nurture and take care of my patient.
Right.
Yeah. 100%. I felt like I was looking at the iPad, spending more time charting than I was actually, providing that education. And like you said, the state of the US, like, we are overfed, but undernourished.
Yes.
And you don't get to build a rapport. Like, I don't know about you guys. We all have doctors. Like, you get sick, you go to a doctor. I don't know about you guys, but there's no rapport, no connection. I don't trust you because you barely know me and I barely know you. But Rachel led us we went to another a leadership retreat together, and Rachel led us in a mindful meditation. And in that 30-minute span of her chatting with us and then leading us, and then afterwards, it was still more time building a rapport. I'd already obviously a friendship with Rachel, but like, you felt a different connection by just little holistic things added into your daily life. You build a better rapport with the practitioner who is practicing you, who is actually helping you and wanting you to, God forbid, be healthy. So that's my tangent. I'm sorry. It's off topic.
So how was Bali? That sounds amazing.
Yeah. I mean, so cliche, but life-changing, of course. It was obviously a big leap of faith. I had never really solo traveled like that before. I had never been to Asia. And I remember getting to the airport thinking to myself, why did I sign up for 5 weeks? Like, why couldn't I even just do like the 3 weeks of the training? I was like, why did I decide to be so brave and do this 5 weeks? But by the end of the 5 weeks, I was like, wow, I definitely could have stayed longer. So I loved it. I think it's such a special place over there. There's this very spiritual energy, and people are just so connected with their land and their culture. One of my favorite things is just walking down the street. They would always put out little offerings throughout the day. So they would put out little flowers and cookies and incense. And it was just such a reminder that they just appreciate the world around them and realize that they're more than just one person. Like, there's just a big community mindset over there. It's not individualistic. So even just outside of the yoga teacher training, I felt like I was just able to learn so much from being in that environment and talking to the people over there. So if you ever get the chance to head on over to Bali, I would highly recommend.
Bucket list it, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
Hey.
I would agree. I mean, it kind of sounds like you had your own little version of like Eat, Pray, Love.
100%.
Right?
It was my Eat, Pray, Love. I was going over there confused, not knowing where I wanted to live, not knowing what I wanted to do for work. And I really feel like I left with just a lot of sense of clarity. And I feel like it just connected me back to myself. And after being in school, especially for so long, and being in a position where I was constantly following rules and following protocols, it was nice to just kind of reconnect with myself, because I had lost that.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like, when's the last time any of us were in, like, I mean, right now, Rachel's on the path, but like, think about it in 2025, when are we listening to ourselves? When are we pouring into ourselves? Like, this whole self-care is not selfish, and you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, yeah, freaking preach. We know this, but nobody is helping us to do those things. And we're so overworked and overran, and all of us, it's not just moms and not just women, and it's literally the gamut.
Yeah.
because welcome to 2025, where burnt bread is how we live. Okay. Like that is.
Wow. That's so true. Burnt bread is how we live. Wow.
Y'all, I've had a few days. Okay. I can hear the baby screaming in the background. Sophia's going to be bumping up here soon, talking about her aunties are on here. And I'm just like getting by with pixie dust prayers at this point. So we're going to do this for as long as we can until I get interrupted.
Oh, you crack me up, pixie dust.
I have so many questions though. And Rachel, I had sent you those questions. And Kristen, if you want to like hit the ground, because I'm going to interject with like my own jam.
No, I'm still on Bali. I'm still like, what an amazing experience that must have been. Like, I think, and just take, like, you recognize that this isn't serving me. I'm walking away from this and I'm going to walk down this path, no matter what it costs me, but my mental health is worth more than all of this other stuff behind me. So I'm really taking it, like, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but I think that sounds really amazing that you recognize in yourself, this is what you need to do to take care of yourself. Because this American society right now, where everybody's just in a big damn hurry to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
We are not taking care of ourselves as individual, we are not taking care of each other as a community. And I think that's just terrible. And we need to be doing that. It's looking out for each other, helping each other, supporting each other, because no one person can do it by themselves.
And that's one of the, I think the community Rachel has created, the community we have with Arbonne is, and the community we have in the military, Chris, is very niche, right? And I feel like your niche will look out for you, but God forbid we're walking through Target and you go to try to interject to help somebody with something, even if they drop something behind them, their credit card, their phone, you go give it to them. Like 95% of the time, people get mad that you intruded on their everyday life. You can't even look out for people anymore. It's rare that people are like, oh my God, thank you. Or like, it takes a village to raise a kid, right? And nobody wants to interject in the kids, even if they think they're being stolen. They'll just stare and like gawk and film it and then post it on YouTube later. But nobody wants to help us with our mental health that's creating this crisis.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
That's why I love what you're doing, because I feel like this goes beyond mindful meditation and yoga. It's combining the two. It's recognizing the things that you recognize, teaching others to recognize those things in themselves, and you're pouring into them, but you're still able to stop and pour back into yourself so you can give your clients the best version of you, which is just, I'm tired as hell. I don't have it in me to do that, but I am like blown away at your capabilities to do that. And I don't want to say I envy it, because that's such a bad word, but like give me a word, I'm fried. I'm like,
you're overstimulated.
I'm so overstimulated, but I love that you can do that, because most people can't.
Well, you have a deep appreciation for the life that she's cultivating, and and she wants to help others. Just like we got into nursing because we wanted to help others, but healthcare has morphed into something that I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It's not what I first got into, and the struggle is real. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk more about health and wellness and self-care.
Signed up to fight for freedom. What a price you had to pay. Picture in her helmet, missing family every day. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane. Some scars we'll never see. She will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. On that old dusty base with the meadows that shine, she's been to hell and back, for the stars and the stripes. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane, and some scars we'll never see, and she will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend, standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve, 'cause you can't spell hero without her. Yeah, yes. For the ones that didn't make it, we will pause and then we cry. We can still see their smile in every sunrise. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend, standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve, 'cause you can't spell hero without her. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her.
And we're back. And before the break, we were talking with Rachel about her health and wellness in her yoga journey. And she went to Bali for some training, which was amazing, I'm sure. And so what is there a specific type of yoga that you are trained in, practice, all of the above?
Yes. So we were really trained on Hatha yoga and Vinyasa yoga, and we learned a little bit of Ashtanga in the last week, but that's completely separate. So I primarily teach and personally take Vinyasa yoga. Vinyasa is all about moving with your breath. So each movement is paired with breath. So you're either inhaling or exhaling. And I particularly love this form of movement because it's very fluid. I feel like when we move, it's a lot easier for us to get out of our mind and into our body. If we're concentrating on moving our body and moving our breath, it doesn't give our monkey mind a whole lot of time to think about that to-do list.
I love that phrase. I don't mean to cut you off. I took one of Rachel's classes. I virtually, because obviously I can't bebop to Florida whenever I want, but I did it virtually, and it on a Monday. She offers them on Mondays, and you can book them throughout. Rachel, you can plug yourself in a minute, but like she used that term, and it threw me off for a hot minute at the beginning. I'm like, a what? And all of a sudden, it all made sense because I'm like, oh my God, my brain is a circus, and there are monkeys kind of running it. And I know that's not like, but that's how I associate it now.
For sure. Me too. I've got them up there too. I think we all do. We live in this fast-paced society, and it is so much easier for us to speed up and keep sprinting than it is to slow down. And that's another reason I love Vinyasa, because you can speed it up or you can slow it down. So I like to do a little bit more of a slow flow. I don't do it more on like a super fast-paced or power. I really try to keep it authentic to yoga and talk about the mind connection, the spirit connection, and not so much view it as a workout. So I would say Vinyasa is pretty much my go-to.
Yeah, I agree. I am inconsistently done yoga over the last like probably 10 to 15 years. And I know that your practice is best when you are staying consistent with it.
Consistency definitely does help, but I think anytime that you show up on the mat, you're doing yourself a service. And I really love the 10-minute rule. I apply this to any form of movement or just honestly like anything that I don't really want to do. I give myself 10 minutes and I say, because I think the hardest part is starting. Whenever people show up to the mat, I'm like, congrats, you made it to the mat. That's the hardest part. So I like the 10-minute rule. So I give myself permission to leave something after 10 minutes. So for example, don't really do this in yoga so much because I don't really feel a lot of resistance showing up to the mat. But for a typical workout, for example, where I know that I'm going to be sweating, I know it's going to be really hard, I say just show up for 10 minutes. And if you're still hating it, go ahead and leave. And I think I've only left a workout once or twice ever since I started doing this like 5 years ago, because truly once you start going and you move your body, it's so much easier to start. So that's kind of my 2 cents on consistency. Just give yourself 10 minutes, and 10 minutes, even if you stop, is better than 0.
Yeah, so then, I think people don't realize how great yoga is for your body. Because I think, I want to say it was at least 10 years ago, and maybe a little bit more than that, they were actually training like NFL players and elite athletes in yoga, because what they were finding is the more flexible you are, the faster you are, which is what a lot of athletes want. And the more flexible you are, the less injuries that you get as well. So I know my aging brain and body is telling me like, okay, get back into yoga, woman. So
she offers them online.
I know. I need to get back into it for sure. But there's so many health benefits to doing yoga, not just the mental piece of it, but the physical piece of it as well. It just, the flexibility and the joint motion, and it's really good for women, and you can start at any age. I know they're even doing it for kids with like ADD, like in the schools and stuff. So there's so many health benefits to doing yoga. I don't think the 3 of us could probably say it here enough for everybody listening to it.
Yeah. And it's funny you bring that up, because I actually reached out to Rachel last week, I think, or my days are blurred, but I was like, hey, can you please put a yoga thing together for Soph? Because she needs she really wants to do yoga. And I'm like, why would I pay somebody on YouTube when I have Rachel, who I trust, to be with my daughter to do a class to help her wind down? And then, the mindful meditation part, because Soph's like, she thinks she knows everything because she's a 5-year-old going on 25, so she's like, I'm like, okay, that's not exactly what you do.
That's so cute. I love that. Yeah, I think yoga truly is for anyone and everyone, especially kids. It's so great for them to start young. I've taught a few kids classes, and I love to incorporate animal themes. I think that really ties them in, and it just helps them to remember, like coming to a starfish pose, or, like something like an elephant, raising your hand. So drawing on that. But I've also done some chair yoga for people that are older. So, it's great for everyone. And like you said, there's a lot of different aspects to being like physically fit. And it's great if you can lift a bunch of weight. But what if you can't tie your shoes? That's like the mobility and the flexibility portion. And that's where yoga really comes in. Yes, you can absolutely build strength with yoga, doing those chaturangas. I can now do push-ups, and that's from the yoga there. But I think even more important is being able to bend down, not being in pain. That's a really big one. Yes. Working through the body. I mean, even myself, I find I'm only 28, but I feel like I get stiff after a day or two. So they say, like, if you don't use it, you lose it. So just stay. And another thing is, it doesn't always have to be that intense. I love to remind people that you don't need to be doing the headstand or doing the craziest pose to get benefits. Like they say that yoga is not about touching your toes. It's about what you learn on the way down. And I think that's a really beautiful way to describe it and remind it. Because yes, you're touching your toes and getting that benefit, but it's also, how are you talking to yourself when you're doing that? Are you speaking to yourself kindly? Are you saying like, oh, like this was so much easier 5 years ago? It's like that type of thing that makes yoga different than versus just stretching.
So you would think that, so in your opinion, then consistency is totally better and trumps intensity of it.
For sure. Yeah. I think with most things. Yeah. Because, if you go, let's say, to your local studio, you get like the unlimited 2 weeks, and, you go as much as you can, and then you never go again. That's not really helping you longevity wise. So I think consistency, you can't see because I'm blocking the camera, but I actually have my yoga mat rolled out behind me on the ground, just as a reminder for myself to just step on the mat. Doesn't have to be long. Maybe it's just a little forward fold, a child's pose, but just doing something a little bit. It's like anything, like when you're working your business, when you're trying to make progress, training for a marathon, I think consistency always wins.
I agree with you 100% on the consistency. It's just interesting when you bring it up in terms of this topic, right? Because everyone thinks go big, go home.
Yeah.
And that's rarely actually always the case. And when you're getting started, at least for sure. I will say that you really, it struck a chord when you were like, but can you tie your shoes? Because Chris, and I mean, Rachel, you saw a different breed. We know Chris did ICU forever. She's done kids. She's done everything. And like, bedside nurse for, I'm not going to say your age, Kristen. So, but like, and then me from the, ER, ICU, and then PACU, like, you know how many patients we've had that can't even put their shoes on without like an assisted device? And it's like that, like, we're getting these patients heavy. And by heavy, I mean physically heavy and also chronically heavy. And it's like, where was the preventive medicine? There isn't any, let's be honest, right? Yeah. And I feel like what you're doing, I know some people won't say it's preventive medicine, but it's preventive for sure, number one. And it's preventive healthcare.
Yes, I agree.
And it pisses me off that people don't utilize holistic approaches more, and that insurance companies, I don't know if that was a word, just like insurance companies, there we go, like foo-foo it. Like, why do I have to pay more for a chiropractor or for a yoga instructor or for needling? Like, I get dry needling for my injury on deployment. I go get PT and dry needling and stim all the time. Why is that not covered? I mean, thank God I go to the VA, but there's people that's not the case.
Yeah, it's backwards. It's backwards for sure. And I think it comes down to the greedy people at the top wanting to make a profit, unfortunately. They don't make a lot of money off healthy people, but I think that's really where I try to come into play. And I try to always share throughout my yoga practice or the classes that I teach, not only, what we're doing on the mat now, but how you can then translate this to off of the mat. So talking about like how if we're working really hard through our lower body, remember to relax the upper body, and talking about how if you're working really hard at work, remember, keep relaxing that upper body. Don't let those shoulders creep up. So I think that there's just such a huge opportunity where people need to learn more about this holistic life.
Well, what would be your, go ahead, Chris.
Bringing an awareness to your body and where you are, like, in relationship to the environment around you. And it's kind of like, in the military, like, we create that muscle memory, like how you practice, it's how you're going to perform. And, I kind of made a joke out of it. Like when I was getting ready to deploy, they keep putting me in these, up armored vehicles and flipping the damn things over. And, I was in the vehicle with all the gear on, and they stopped us upside down, and the lumbar pad to the bulletproof vest got stuck behind the seat that I was sitting in. So when I unclicked like the harness, I was actually dangling like a turtle, because even though the straps were released, I was stuck. But it was just luck that I have, am flexible enough that I was able to bend myself in half and put my feet on the roof of this thing and kind of like pop my booty out to get myself down and out. But like simple things like that, in reality, like I wound up getting in a car accident several years after that. And it was just sheer, because I'm flexible and my brain, like muscle memory, just kind of knew what to do from the rollover and the flexibility. Like I got like sprained my whole body head to toe, but I had no major injuries. Like we have people, you could trip and fall over your shoelaces because they're untied or going up and down steps. And so maintaining that mobility and that, like, your awareness of your body is really important as we age, from, little kids all the way on up.
I mean, it helps with your stability.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Rachel, what would be like your go-to self-care recommendation then?
So I think nature is super important. So I think that we forget that we are nature, and we get so disconnected from it because we spend our time inside and not enough time outside. So go-to self-care definitely involves fresh air and then breathing, of course. That's such a big part of yoga. But so often we tend to breathe really fast and very shallow. So I would say getting out into nature if possible, taking deep breaths. If you're able to do some yoga, that's obviously one of my favorite self-care, and making it a little ritual for yourself. I find it's really fun to add a little bit of essential oils, maybe light a nice soy non-toxic candle, and just doing something that calms you down and feels good. Something that feels simple enough that you could repeat it. I think sometimes we think of self-care and we go overboard, and it's really great that one time, but it's not sustainable. We're not able to do these elaborate things. So sometimes the best self-care is just taking a break, stepping outside, taking a nice, like deep good morning stretch, big inhale, and then exhale, really like releasing and telling yourself that you're releasing is just so simple, but it really can make a big difference.
Yeah. I don't have, people think it's like I got to go to the gym. Oh, like you said, you have so much stuff that isn't sustainable. Not that the gym's not, the gym is sustainable if you're doing it within reason, right? Like, but you're right. And then when life happens and throws a curveball at you and jacks up your schedule,
yeah,
you forget that you can go back to little things like going in bare feet outside to ground yourself and stretch. I mean, I don't get the morning sun the way you guys do. But the choice I made has not been to go to Florida yet. It's coming. But when it does, I will have that ability.
Yes, exactly. Just little things like that. And like, that's one of the other reasons I love yoga and find it so accessible, because you don't even need a mat. You just need a space to put your body. You don't need to drive to a gym. You don't need this equipment. You don't need anything fancy. That's why I try to offer the online yoga to make it accessible to people. Hopefully soon I'll have some YouTube videos, so then it's on demand. You don't need to wait for time. But I think that's one of the reasons I really love yoga, because there's not so many barriers to accessing it.
So what would be, how do I word this? Actually, I'm going to pull from the questions that I had. So what's your yoga style then in 3 words?
So I would say welcoming for the first word, because I really want everyone to feel welcome. I don't really have like a niche of the type of, students that I cater towards. So very welcoming. I accept anybody that's showing up on their mat. I'd say empowering, because I want you to not be disappointed at your body or judging your body. I want you to approach it with a sense of gratitude for your body and realize how strong and capable you are. So when you leave the time on your mat, you feel good, you feel empowered that you can do hard things. And then I would say adaptive. I mean, I've only been teaching for about a year, so things are still changing. I'm learning my style. So I don't really have, I definitely do have a style, but nothing that's 100% concrete that I wouldn't be willing to change. So I would say like adaptive or flexible, because the more that I learn and grow in my own practice and in my own life, I'm able to then better my teaching.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the empower, like Chris and I, I'm always talking about how not enough women, and Rachel, we've had this discussion, not enough women empower each other. We're bringing each other down. And you've seen my conversations, Rachel. I'm always trying to lift someone's crown, because what does it benefit to tear down another freaking human being?
That one. Abundance mindset.
I do not understand that. Like, if you're a total a-hole and you come at me, I'm going to probably match your energy. I'm just going to be real. But I'm not going to tear you down. And I'm not going to definitely not do it for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it.
Mindset that there's enough for everyone. We can all have enough success, enough money, friends, fame, power, calmness, whatever you're after, there's enough for all of us. And there's never a need to criticize your neighbor, to compare. I love to tell people, stay within the 4 corners of your mat. It doesn't matter if Susie's next to you doing the headstand. It doesn't take away from your practice. You don't
just stay in your lane.
Exactly. Stay in your lane, stay on your mat.
I was never a fan of the headstand. I never felt comfortable doing it. I never liked the way my head felt and my neck felt. And some of
my boots I fall over.
But that's one of them that I'm like,
And that's okay. There's so many yogis and amazing yoga teachers that I look up to. They don't do headstands. Doesn't make you any more. It doesn't make you any less. Again, yoga is really not about the poses. I think that's a really big misconception.
Ooh. That's something I wanted to talk to you about, a misconception. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it's about coming back to yourself. And traditionally, the yoga poses were really used to kind of move around energy, so that way you could get out of your mind and into your body to prepare for Shavasana and then that meditation. Because the whole point of yoga is enlightenment and coming back to yourself and really knowing yourself. So the yoga poses that we do are then really in preparation for you then to still your mind. Because if I were to say, all right, guys, let's meditate now, I know our monkey minds would be all over the place. Versus if we do a yoga flow for 60 minutes and we move around that energy, we find some stillness. By the time we come to Shavasana and we do that meditation, it's probably going to be easier for you to find some stillness in your mind. It may not be perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. But in theory and in application, it does tend to be easier.
I will say, Chris, I'm not on the right link today. Chris, can you plug in her Instagram handle for Rachel Wellness? Yes. Rachel Wellness, Rachel Farmer Wellness. What are those words together? But Rachel, Rachel might be able to type it in. I can't type in anything on the link I'm on.
Don't worry. Don't sweat it. We're going to go to a quick commercial break and we're going to talk more about health and wellness and yoga.
Sounds good.
see the spray painted stop sign when I roll down 79. The drag marks behind that mini mart ain't faded after all this time. Every man fly from Georgia to California's got a boy with a rebel heart. Stories in every small town scar that by a good old boy taking it way too far. Somebody had to drink too much and crank Hank way too loud. Somebody had to always stand up to the guy with a tendency to run his mouth. The straight pipe Chevy had to run these streets like Bo and Luke in the General Lee. Yeah, somebody had to, and that somebody was me. There's still ruts on Ridge Hill Road, and muddy cans we tossed out the window. String bikini on a limb by a swimming hole, that's a story that'll never be told. Cigarette butts and a busted bottle sitting by that old burn pile. This town was nothing without us, tearing it up every once in a while. Somebody had to drink too much and crank Hank way too loud. Somebody had to always stand up to the guy with a tendency to run his mouth. The straight pipe Chevy had to run these streets like Bo and Luke in the General Lee. Yeah, somebody had to, and that somebody was me. Yeah, somebody had to get a 4.0 full ride, whole life planned out on track. Somebody had to make a touchdown pass when state front page name written in black. But somebody had to drink too much and crank Hank way too loud. Somebody had to always stand up to the guy with a tendency to run his mouth. The straight pipe Chevy had to run these streets like Bo and Luke in the General Lee. Yeah, somebody had to, and that somebody was me. Yeah, that somebody was me.
Are we back?
And in the chat, I have posted Rachel's Instagram, Rachel Farmer Wellness on Instagram, and her website, rachelfarmerwellness.com. If you want any further information or support from Ms. Rachel, I'm in. I want. All right.
Come on over.
Emails, and I love getting. I know we talked about when you first started doing them, and I'm hoping you're not feeling like imposter syndrome doing them now, but like I looked forward so much. I was super pregnant when she started coming out with them, and I was like, I just need a freaking shining light for the love of God. And because I was in so much pain pregnant and so large and like, and when you started coming out with them, I was like, oh my God, this is so nice to read because it's not there's no stress in it. It's not like crap you're seeing on the news. It's nothing to do with work. It's you can even read it on the toilet away from your children if you have it, you know what I mean? And it's like a nice, because your husbands and men are always on the toilet doing something. So like, let us do it. So like, I love I know they're more than monthly. At least I feel like they're more than monthly.
Yeah, they're bi-weekly. I try to do
thank
that.
you. I was like, I feel like I'm getting them more than that. It's awesome. So she has a subscription to that. I highly recommend you guys if you want a little sunlight in your email box and not spam.
Thank you. Yeah, just bi-weekly, and I share what classes I have coming up. I try to do a mantra. I usually do 2 mantras is bi-weekly, so mantra for like 2 weeks. I share some different health tips, maybe something about the moon, horoscopes, just providing some value. So they're not a very long read, but if you go to my website and you're just on it for more than 2 seconds, a little pop-up box will come up and ask if you want to subscribe. So you can do that, and would definitely love to have you on that.
That's awesome.
So 2 questions I want to pick your brain at, because we went to break right before that when my mind was going to hell in a handbasket. I wanted to ask you, my brain
so
like scrambled eggs. If you can visualize monkeys, they're scrambling the eggs. Okay, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs, but I don't take any drugs. So you brought up making mistakes, like the mat is kind of like a judgment-free zone, feel empowered. I remember the first time I saw you do yoga on a mat, you were on your patio in Florida, and your caption was about like, it's okay to make mistakes and fall and slip. And I always felt so insecure going to yoga classes because I'm like, I'm going to lose my balance. I have to do certain things modified. We've discussed this. I have certain things I can't do because I have an injury. And then when I was pregnant, when I was pregnant, she flipped. That's my daughter. She flipped like part of my muscle. And like, so we discussed all that. When I saw you slip on the mat and like fall and then post it, I was like, oh my God, like,
she's just like us.
Like, I can't tell you, it makes you, someone just said, hello, young lady. Professionals mess up. And the fact that it's okay to be human because humans mess up. You made it so relatable isn't even the right word. People need to see that.
It was normal.
Yeah.
That's all. That's what it was.
And it was like, oh my God, I'm not doing it wrong.
For sure.
And it's the least, like when I took your class, it was the least judgmental class. And I love yoga. And when I can, I go to a class, but I can't be consistent. I got a baby on the boob and somebody else trying to climb in my uterus. And so sorry, is this like,
no, it just makes me laugh every time you say it. Baby's on the boob.
Baby's on the boob. I know, my favorite saying of yours. It's so real.
So, but like, I've never felt less judged, more empowered, and more capable. So if anyone is looking for someone, like, you're not physically there holding my hand, and that would be weird during yoga if you were, right? But like, if anybody is looking for everything you've ever not realized you needed, but actually did need in a coach, whether it's yoga, mindfulness, even health, I feel like you're the person because you are the least judgmental person I know. And if you were still in healthcare, you would be the provider I wanted.
Thank you.
So I just have to say that. So like making mistakes, you make human look good. So don't stop. And my second question has evaded me. So let's keep it moving.
Oh, I was going to ask, what's your favorite yoga pose, Rachel?
Ooh, that's a really hard one. I'd probably say Warrior 2. I really like that one. So that's where you have a really deep bend in the front knee, micro bend in the back knee. Your arms are stretching in equal opposite directions. You're gazing through that third middle finger. I feel like I just feel very strong in it. And it's a pose that makes me feel balanced. I feel like it's working on core, stability. It's not super fancy. There's not a ton of moving parts, but it's just a good staple that it feels good. I think that it makes other people feel good. I can kind of feel that energy when people are in that strong warrior pose. And one of my favorite mantras is I can do hard things. And I feel like it just ties into that a lot.
I love that. Chris, I feel like we've said that and didn't realize we're probably doing our own little affirmation in that. Like,
yeah,
we can do hard
exactly.
things.
And people don't realize, that warrior pose, like all the warrior poses, like if you look at it just at a quick glance, you're like, oh yeah, I could do that. And then trying to get into it and out of it, like I've been in that pose and just kind of like completely lost my balance.
For sure, yeah. It's a great pose to build on. To
started to play around and I lost my focus.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of
those your monkey brain.
Yeah.
Yes.
It looks fairly simple. And I feel like sometimes people view yoga and they think it looks simple, but when you're actually doing it, it's very humbling because you don't realize how much core stability is needed, especially when it comes to balancing poses. People are always embarrassed that they can't balance. And I have to ask them, I'm like, well, are you a flamingo? Do you balance on one leg every day? No, you don't. So why would this be something that you're good at? It's something like anything. It just takes practice. So why would you expect yourself to show up on the mat and be able to make these crazy shapes if you don't make these crazy shapes in day-to-day life? Like, it's not necessarily supposed to be easy.
Right. But you can do hard things.
Agree with me. Get on the mat and just maintain the focus and that core stability. We use it in so many things. And I'm full disclosure, I fell off my paddleboard this weekend.
Is that what the pose was about?
Yeah, I just fell off the path. I must have just lost focus. I wasn't paying attention. And my husband's like, how did you fall off? I'm like, honestly, I don't even know. Like jet skis were coming around and the boats creating like little swells, like nothing major. And I just must not have been like adjusting, paying attention, and just fell over, lost my favorite freaking hat too. I'm so sad.
Oh no.
But yeah, like you need that core for so many things, and you need to quiet the mind. And that's the whole point of being out on the water, is to quiet your mind.
Yes.
And clearly the monkeys were out of control, even out on the water.
I will say yoga really does help with core.
Yes.
Like even PT pushes it, right? Like my husband, bless his freaking heart, he needs to do way more core, because even just his posture, he's got cervical and spinal stenosis and radiculopathy. I'm just putting out HIPAA like it ain't no one business. I don't care. But like PT is like, you've got to engage your core. Da, 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 da. I'm like, you should do yoga with me. He was like, okay, I'll stand behind you. And I'm like,
That's not helping you.
That's not
like
the kind
close,
of yoga
but not quite.
Correct. I'm like, no, you just go to a class. I'll watch the kids. Thank you. Okay, so give us yoga in a sentence, Rachel.
So I have this quote. don't want to mess it up, so I'm going to read it here. So it says, yoga is the journey of the self, through the self, to the self. And it's from the Bhagavad Gita, which is a ancient yogic text. And it's essentially touching on all the parts of yoga. So journey of the self, through the self, and to the self. So like I had mentioned, yoga is all about coming to the self. And we do that through the physical body. So that's when we're moving through the self. But then there's that mental component of the self, and then the spiritual. And yoga actually means union of body, mind, and soul. So I feel like that sentence about it being a journey is just a really great description of that, because it's so much more than the physical poses. And I feel like if there's one thing I want to stress to the listeners today, it's not about the asana, that's the physical pose. It's about how you talk to yourself, how you show up on the mat, how you then carry that energy off of the mat. Like it's so much more than just holding your body in those positions, because holding your body in position, that can just be a stretch, that can be just be strength training. But it's really about the intention that you use behind it. And the way that you're talking to yourself. Again, I think that's a really big one, especially as women. We tend to criticize ourselves. We always want to take accountability and find how we can do better, but just working on accepting. I try to tell my students, we don't need to label it good or bad. It doesn't need to be better or worse. It can just be. So I really, again, I love that quote. Journey of the self, through the self, to the self.
I love
like that. Yeah.
Love it.
It's like deeper than what. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot deeper for sure.
It's a lot
you can go down the rabbit hole for a long time.
So we've talked about how yoga is good for the body and spiritual and just blending body, mind, heart, soul. But yoga is also good for our sleep too, right?
Yes, definitely. So I think one of the big things with yoga, especially coming back to the breath, is the nervous system regulation. We've talked a lot about how in our fast-paced society, we're just disconnected from ourselves. So one of the big things is just bringing that awareness back to the body. And then once we have that awareness, knowing that maybe we're breathing a little bit fast, we're breathing a little bit shallow, when we're able to then tap into that parasympathetic or that rest and digest nervous system, it just calms everything down, and it kind of recalibrates our body to do what our body needs to do, which then in turn is going to help our sleep. Because so much of the time, I don't know about you guys, but I'm assuming we're kind of razzled and frazzled and we're going all over the place. So when we're able to tap into that vagus nerve, that's the big nerve that we're using when we're working through those long extended exhales. That's really the key. That's going to help us to just maintain homeostasis in our body, kind of reset that circadian rhythm, and then help us to be able to sleep more soundly and stay asleep.
Okay, so I'm going to place sleep into stress, because people that are real stressed have trouble falling asleep, right?
Yeah.
And if y'all haven't picked up in the 45 minutes we've been together, okay, hello. So, what is one thing that you would do? Like, what do you do? Maybe not even recommend to your clients, but either way, either or. How do you ground yourself during those stressful times, overwhelming, overstimulated times?
So I feel like it's a little bit cliche, but truly coming back to your breath, because for example, if we're in the car, I'm down in South Florida where the drivers are terrifying. So I can't, get into my child's pose and move my body when I'm in the car, but I always have access to my breath. So that's something that I love to come back to. Even when I was in clinic seeing patients and really stressed, the breath is something that I would always come back to. And I really love sharing the 4-7-8 breathing. So that's where you inhale for 4, you hold for 7, and then you exhale for 8. So what you're doing is essentially doubling that exhale. And when we allow our exhales to be longer than the inhale, we're directly communicating with our body through our breath to turn on that rest and digest nervous system. It's activating that vagus nerve, which is the largest nerve, and that really helps to settle you down. If breathing isn't your thing, you can try humming, you can try whistling. These are all things that vibrate the nerve. But I really love breathing because just bringing awareness to the breath is going to translate in so many different scenarios. And maybe you're in a meeting, you can't really whistle or hum, but no one's going to notice if you're doing this breathing. It's something that's so inconspicuous. It's so silent. It's so sneaky, but it really is effective.
How do we not let our face know what we're doing? I've struggled with this my entire life. So, and if you guys know me, you know this is true. So my daughter's picked up, like, I'll be like, and I'm trying to breathe. Like, I can't get into the yoga breath. I've got, me and you have to have like a one-on-one, but like, I'm trying to deep breathe so I don't get ghetto fab on her ass. And I'm like, and she's like, oh, you're frustrated. I'm sorry, Mom. And I'm like, how do I not show you I'm frustrated? You're 5. Like, it's not your job to wear my frustration. I'm just overstimulated because we're doing all the things, you know? And how do you recommend people in a meeting, especially healthcare workers, when they're like, when they just want to knock out administrators because they don't get it, you know, what's your recommendation?
So it's hard. That's something that I struggle with too. I'm also a very facially expressive person. I think, you know, we're not always able to create breaks for ourselves, but if you can, even, I mean, I wasn't really able to use the restroom at my old job. I didn't have time for that.
Right. We talked about
even
that.
if you just need to like turn into a corner, like in between patients and just like breathe it that way so no one can see you. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing in situations, you know, it's obviously depending on the context, like in a meeting, not the best, but it's okay to show your emotions and let other people know and just, you know, let them know, like, this is something I'm working with. It has nothing to do with you, and establishing that boundary.
That's good.
And then just to also try to like contain things. I really like using kind of like a visualization of like a golden orb or some type of light around you that is kind of blocking out anything that you don't want. So I like to kind of envision it or imagine it as it's penetrable, meaning that you can still give and receive. You don't want to have this hard wall where you're blocking yourself out from, you know, human interaction, but you get to be selective, kind of like as the gatekeeper. So if, you know, someone says something that you don't like, you know, the orb just deflects it. You know, that was not for me, that was for them. Not even, you know, letting this come into my consciousness. I'm not going to hold on to this energy, this thought, and just kind of imagining this kind of like imaginary shield. It sounds a little silly, but it can be really helpful knowing that you have this boundary that's protecting your energy from someone else's. Because
that's
often,
super important in healthcare, especially.
Yeah, because we pick up other things. We end up carrying so much that's not ours.
Yeah.
So just realizing, you know, just even if it's in your mind, this just like thin veil, it can be light, it can be like, you know, a texture, gauze material, whatever, that just, it separates you, just creating this defined boundary, just kind of as a way in the mind to make it a little bit more concrete that you don't have to absorb everything. Because I think that especially as women, healthcare workers, we want to take it all in and we want to fix it. But knowing that, yeah, exactly. But kind of having that protective layer is something that I've taught some people to do and have had some good feedback with that.
So I would love for you to discuss, I don't know what, anyway, I digress. I want you to, told you scrambled eggs. I want you to tell the viewers everything you offer in your business, essentially, including like, I know you do group, like leading groups in like corporations. Yeah. So like, or like girls' night, you could like, you would host like a retreat for like all your girlfriends or whatever. So please discuss.
Yeah. Oh, I like the sound of that.
Right. Yes, that's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, so I do all things health and wellness. So specifically in regards to yoga, I don't have a studio. So I either come to you at a location of your choice. So I do a lot of corporate yogas where I'll go into businesses. So if you work at a business, you can always ask your employer if they're open to having me come in and teach a yoga class or even a corporate health workshop. That's something that I've started to now do, where I come in and provide tangible tips that are more than just stress less, eat better, better, move more. Like, what does that even mean? So that's something that if you're working in a job, you can ask your employer to bring me in. I do group classes at different markets online. I do it in person. So I do birthday parties, bachelorettes, just partnering with different organizations. I'm looking to get into the international retreat space. So coming January 2025, I will be hosting a retreat in Colombia.
No, 26.
2026, yes, sorry. 2026.
That's awesome.
That's 2025. Yes. So January 2026. So I'm really excited about that. So that will be the start of my kind of retreat adventure, but we're going to be planning some more retreats, hopefully international and domestic, with some smaller scale, maybe some weekends where I incorporate some other practitioners, whether that's sound healing, meditation, massage therapy, just making it really holistic on different modalities. So that's pretty much everything yoga. I do privates, personal. I love to really create something for you. So if you're interested in sharing what you're looking for from the class, any particular injuries, I'm really good about working with that when it comes to more individual. And then with health coaching, I really like to bridge the gap between whatever you were told in your doctor's office to life. Because maybe you went to the doctors and you got this diagnosis of, let's say, like high blood pressure, and you don't even know what that means. You don't know how to make it better. You don't understand really anything about the condition, how you got there. So my goal as a health coach is to, number one, help you understand your diagnosis. Number two, help you realize that you are not your diagnosis. And number three, implement lifestyle changes to maybe even reverse that diagnosis. Obviously, I'm working through my health coaching credentials, so I can't provide any medication management or any diagnosis. I won't be using my PA license, but I'll be able to help you work through different goals with your nutrition, with movement, with sleep, and really troubleshoot things. Because, for example, I find that, we go to the doctor, they say, "Are you eating well?" You say yes. And then you get this diagnosis, and maybe you thought you were eating well, but you don't know how to read nutrition labels. Maybe the grocery store is too far away, so you have to order in bulk, and your kids want something different. So these type of problems, I'm able to really work through them with you and help you to get to your goal. In either yoga and in health coaching, I really love the philosophy that I am not the sage on the stage. I'm the guide on the side. Like, I truly believe that it's you doing the work. You have the answers within you. And I want to empower you to feel good, because at the end of the day, like, it's your life, it's your body, but I want to be there to support you, hold you accountable, and give you the tools and the resources that maybe weren't accessible to you before.
And I do think it's so important. How many times have as a lay person, and we've all seen it, right? Left the doctor's office, urgent care, ER, what have you, and been like, don't know what they just told me.
All the time. Even with my patients, seeing them in 15 minutes, I would give them a handout, and I'm sure they had no idea. They'd walk out and not know. It's just not enough time. And it takes a while for us to really understand things. And then we have to think about the questions that we have. So we're not going to understand things right off the bat and have all our questions. It takes some time. It takes the trial, the error. So I think that health coaches really fill in this unique gap and working through things and really troubleshooting.
And I feel like healthcare has become an assembly line, especially like surgery centers, urgent cares.
You pass through.
Let's be efficient. But efficiency is turned into tasking and not inhumane, but like heartless, not connected care.
Yeah, it's not taking the humanity out of healthcare.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah, I agree. And I think one of the other things that I really try to harp on is bio-individuality. I know that there's so much information out there. We all have access to ChatGPT, Google, but it's information overload. And what they say works for one person may not work for the other. My favorite example of this is nuts. Nuts are great because they've got a lot of fats in them. They've got vitamins, minerals, fiber, all the things. But to the other person, they're allergic. Nuts can literally kill them. So when you're working with me as a health coach, I can help you distinguish what's actually right for you versus what the internet says is right for everyone.
Well, we've got about 45 seconds here left. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We're so happy to have you talking
about health,
so
much.
Health and wellness and yoga. You're doing great work out in the community, and we're happy to have you. And Sophia has joined us for the last 30 seconds. How are you, girlfriend?
Hi, cutie.
Hi.
Are you excited about next week?
Disney.
Where are you going?
Disney.
Yay! your birthday, you're lucky.
Girl, hi.
And that's how we're going to close it out with some happiness and self-care for the
Awesome.
Dog Tag
Magic.
Diva, here to remind you to greet each day with purpose, passion, and tenacity, and be kind to each other.
Amazing.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good night.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.